some reason you think this is a game. This is not a game.
Whether you love them or hate them, reboots and sequel series and updated adaptations of classic shows and movies are happening all the time. CBS is getting ready to release their Queen Latifah-led Equalizer series, Netflix has been doing reboots of things like Voltron and Lost in Space, and Peacock did a sequel series to Saved by the Bell. And now, Peacock is also getting to do a reboot of the beloved Will Smith show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But what is there to know about it, and what can we expect? Allow us to show you 8 things to expect from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reboot. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 8. The Bel-Air trailer. So you might think that this reboot is the latest in a long line of reboots that came from executives asking, what classic show can we make come back and be good? But ironically, that's not the case with this reboot. Not this time anyway. In March 2019, cinematographer Morgan Cooper released a 4-minute trailer entitled Bel-Air, which reimagined the show as a drama set in today's world. Will was one of the millions blown away by the YouTube video. A month later, Will and Morgan met up to discuss how the trailer came to be. Now, more than a year later, Morgan is co-writing and co-executive producing the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reboot with showrunners Chris Collins. Will is also involved in the project as an executive producer, along with original series creators Andy and Susan Borowitz. This is important for various reasons, because it was a fan of the original show who helped inspire the take on the new show, and they not only have Will Smith on board, but the original creators of Fresh Prince to make sure the show honors what came before, while also blazing a new path. That's a key thing, though it does raise the question about the show itself in terms of plot.
Well, I grew up watching the show. It's something that since I was 5.
Number 7. What's the synopsis for the show? Set in modern-day America, Bel-Air is a serialized 1-hour dramatic analog of the 90s sitcom The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that leans into the original premise, Will's complicated journey from the streets of West Philadelphia to the gated mansions of Bel-Air, Peacock said in a press release per CNN. With a reimagined vision, Bel-Air will dive deeper into the inherent conflicts, emotions, and biases that were impossible to fully explore in a 30-minute sitcom format, while still delivering swagger and nods to the original show. At first, that might just sound like the regular non-spoiler synopsis that networks give out before they're even into production. But there's a lot going on in that synopsis that you might have missed, including how it'll be a 1-hour show instead of a 30-minute one, and that they're going to dive deeper into the conflicts and prejudices that someone like Will, the character, would have faced upon arriving in Bel-Air. Number 6. Racial conflicts. The original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was first and foremost a comedy show. Yes, they had drama in their episodes, but many times it was about Will and other characters getting into trouble and having to figure their way out of said situation. However, they did go and touch upon racism in their show before, including one powerful episode where Will and Carlton got arrested for driving a fancy car that belonged to a friend of Uncle Phil's that lent them the said car. They were arrested by racist sheriffs who thought they stole it and refused to believe them, even when the owner told them they weren't thieves. The only reason they were let go was because Uncle Phil, a judge if you recall, was threatening legal action. As great as that was just one episode. There's a lot more tensions out there right now that needs to be addressed, especially given the recent events of 2020. Number 5. Black Lives Matter. If 2020 showed us anything, outside of the fact that the world can just plain suck at times, it's that racism in the world, and especially in America, is alive and well. The deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor inspired a lot of protests and political action because of the very clear racism that was being shown by the police officers. And the events of said protests in regards to the police attacking them, despite being peaceful, was yet another showing of clear racism. Especially when those same cops refused to hurt a riot started by the angry white people who ransacked the Capitol in order to try and get Trump reelected. Why does this matter? Because one of the main cruxes of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is the divide between the lucky elite in regards to the Banks family and those who have been poor for most of their lives, like Will. Carlton, Ashley, and Hillary all grew up in luxury and thus would only have spotty encounters with racism. Will, especially in this reboot, would have much more encounters with such people who think of him lesser.
But I did hear this other law. It's called the if you see a black guy driving anything but a burnt out Pinto, you better stop him because he stole it law.
So one should fully expect them to go and dive deep into the racial tensions of America and beyond and use Will and the other characters to go and show the various levels of racism that are out there and how they need to be dealt with. We're really going to peel back the layers of these iconic characters and explore this world in a really unforgettable way, Morgan said to Will. It's a show that's really going to surprise people in the best way. Number 4, the flair and style. Despite it being made clear that there are going to be more dramatic takes on the characters in the Bel-Air reboot, that doesn't mean that there isn't going to be some fun and flair. After all, part of what made the original show so great was that it had an outside-of-the-box kind of thinking in terms of how to present itself, including with the very opening of the show, which was very much a rap music video. Plus, while it's true the world is a dramatic place, that doesn't mean it's devoid of comedy and fun. The character of Will is a jokester in the original as well as a baller, and so we shouldn't be too surprised if things are going to get really interesting in terms of its style as well as its substance. Number 3, a slightly tweaked cast? The thing about reboots is that you can go and take things in one direction or another. You can go and do a direct retelling, just with new actors playing the characters, or you could hold off on a few of the classic characters and bring new ones to bear. It's unclear which will happen in Bel-Air at present. For example, we know via the synopsis that the main character is Will, and will be still going to his extended family's home in Bel-Air. But as for the Banks family, it's unclear if they'll keep all the same characters or slightly alter things. Given that this is a more dramatic reboot, it's entirely possible that they'll go and adapt things more to the modern world, including one of the characters, in this case one of the Banks' kids, coming out as gay, or of a different orientation than their parents think. Uncle Phil and Aunt Vivian will also likely be altered, perhaps to better suit the more dramatic needs of the show. It's true that they could just keep the cast the same in terms of characters, but we'd be shocked if there wasn't at least a few new additions to make it more fresh. Number 2, cameos from the originals. This one is tricky because when it comes to nostalgia, people want to be immersed in it in certain ways and not be beaten over the head with it. The Cobra Kai series on Netflix is a great example of this. It's a sequel series that honors the past while embracing the future. For Bel-Air, they could go and do things like bring in Will Smith and the other OG cast members to do small cameos and make their presence felt. But would that work in the context of this more serious show? That remains to be seen. If anything, they could do subtle teases to the past of the show and not have a direct cameo. Besides, the OG cast, minus those who have passed on, did a reunion special for the series, and that's all the nostalgia they honestly needed.
Just remember, happiness comes from inside.
Number 1, 2 seasons at least. Finally, and arguably just as surprisingly, the Bel-Air reboot has already gotten not just a pickup on Peacock, but a second season order before season 1 had even aired. That doesn't happen that often, unless the people behind the show are really confident that this show will be a hit, which might be what happened when Will Smith came on board and said he wanted to do it. There's no release date for it at present, but it's expected to go and be released this year at some time. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the upcoming reboot of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and how things are going to possibly go? Are you excited for this potential reboot? Are you expecting it to be good given that Will Smith is involved? Or do you think that this will fall on the lesser side of TV reboots? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.